My heart was pounding as I turned the key in the lock of our new house in Atlanta. It was a quaint two-story colonial, nestled at the end of a quiet cul-de-sac. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the neighborhood. My wife, Emma, and I were thrilled to be homeowners and ready to start a new chapter in our lives. Little did we know that this chapter would be more terrifying than anything we could have imagined. The first time we laid eyes on the house, we were enamored by its charm. The red brick exterior, the white picket fence, and the well-manicured lawn gave it a storybook quality. We could already picture our future children playing in the backyard and family gatherings in the cozy living room. The real estate agent assured us that the previous owners had taken excellent care of the property, and the neighborhood was known for its safety and friendly atmosphere. Moving day arrived, and with the help of friends and family, we unloaded boxes and furniture into our new home. The air inside was musty, a mix of old wood and dust. As we explored each room, we couldn't help but notice the creaks in the floorboards and the occasional draft that sent a shiver down our spine. The unsettling feeling was subtle at first, easily dismissed as the typical quirks of an older home. Our first night in the new house was filled with excitement and exhaustion. We fell asleep on the living room floor, surrounded by unpacked boxes. The silence of the house was occasionally interrupted by the distant hum of traffic and the rustling of leaves outside. But as the night wore on, the quiet seemed to deepen, taking on an almost oppressive quality. In the middle of the night, I was awakened by a strange sound. It was a soft whisper, barely audible, but distinct enough to make me sit up and listen. I strained my ears, trying to make out the words, but it was just a hushed murmur that seemed to linger in the air. I glanced at Emma, still asleep beside me, and wondered if I had dreamt the whole thing. The following days brought more odd occurrences. Objects would inexplicably move from one room to another. We would hear footsteps in empty hallways, and the temperature in certain rooms would drop suddenly, sending shivers down our spines. Emma and I exchanged uneasy glances, hesitant to voice our growing unease. We reassured ourselves with logical explanations, blaming the old pipes for the strange noises and the drafty windows for the chilling breezes. One evening, as Emma prepared dinner in the kitchen, I decided to explore the basement. The staircase creaked under my weight as I descended into the dimly lit space. The air was thick, and the only light came from a single bulb hanging from the ceiling. I could feel the temperature drop, and a sense of foreboding washed over me. As I scanned the basement, my eyes were drawn to an old wooden door tucked away in a corner. It seemed out of place, with its peeling paint and rusty handle. Curiosity overcoming caution, I approached the door and turned the knob. The hinges groaned in protest as I pushed it open. The room beyond was small and dimly lit, filled with dusty furniture draped in white sheets. An old rocking chair swayed gently in the corner, despite the lack of any discernible breeze. The air felt heavy, and an indescribable scent lingered, a mix of decay and something unidentifiable. My heart raced as I took in the scene, and a sense of dread settled over me like a suffocating blanket. I quickly retreated from the basement, the door slamming shut behind me as if pushed by an unseen force. I stumbled up the stairs, my mind racing with questions. What was that room? Why did it feel like a malevolent presence lingered within its walls? That night, sleep eluded us. We lay in bed, wide awake, as the whispers returned, this time louder and more insistent. The voices seemed to converge, forming a chorus of eerie murmurs that filled the room. Emma and I exchanged terrified glances, our unease growing with each passing moment. In the days that followed, the activity in the house escalated. Shadows darted across walls when there was no source of light. Unexplained drafts became gusts that rattled windows and doors. We found handprints on fogged-up mirrors, though no one had touched them. Our once idyllic home had transformed into a nightmare, and we couldn't shake the feeling that we were not alone. Desperate for answers, we began researching the history of the house and the neighborhood. We discovered that the previous owners had abruptly moved out, leaving behind a trail of rumors about strange occurrences. Some neighbors mentioned whispers of a tragic event that had taken place in the house decades ago, though details were scarce. Determined to unravel the mystery, we reached out to the neighbors who had lived in the area the longest. One elderly couple, the Johnsons, had been there for over 50 years. Their eyes widened when we mentioned our address, and they exchanged knowing glances. Mrs. Johnson hesitated before finally speaking, her voice trembling with the weight of long-buried secrets. She recounted the story of a family that had once lived in our house. According to her, a tragedy had unfolded, a dark tale of despair and loss that had left an indelible mark on the property. Decades ago, a mother and her 2 children had resided in the house. The husband, a troubled man with a history of violence, had succumbed to his demons, leading to a horrific incident that claimed the lives of the entire family. The whispers in the neighborhood suggested that the lingering spirits of the deceased family still haunted the house, unable to find peace. As we listened to Mrs. Johnson's account, a chill ran down our spines. The pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place, explaining the unsettling occurrences that had plagued us since our arrival. The basement room, the whispers, and the inexplicable phenomena, it all pointed to a restless presence trapped within the confines of our home. Determined to free ourselves from the malevolent energy, we sought the help of a local paranormal investigator. The investigator, a middle-aged man named Richard, arrived at our doorstep armed with an array of equipment. He explained that he had experience dealing with haunted properties and assured us that he could help us uncover the truth. As Richard conducted his investigation, the atmosphere in the house grew increasingly tense. The air seemed to thicken with each passing moment, and shadows danced across the walls. The investigator's equipment beeped and flickered, indicating fluctuations in temperature and electromagnetic fields. We watched in anticipation as he communicated with unseen entities, asking questions in a calm but assertive tone. In the basement, Richard's attention was drawn to the mysterious room. He hesitated before entering, sensing a powerful energy emanating from within. As he stepped inside, the temperature plummeted, and the air grew heavy with an oppressive force. The investigator began to communicate with the spirits, attempting to uncover the truth behind their torment. The basement echoed with disembodied voices, recounting the tragic events that had unfolded within those walls. The mother's desperate pleas for mercy, the children's terrified cries, the house seemed to reverberate with the echoes of a past that refused to be forgotten. As Richard delved deeper into the paranormal realm, he urged the spirits to find peace and move on. The climax of the investigation occurred when the room's atmosphere shifted dramatically. The air, once heavy with sorrow, lightened, and a sense of calm replaced the oppressive force. Richard declared that he believed the spirits had found a resolution and crossed over to the other side. Relief washed over us as the investigator concluded his work. We thanked him for his assistance, grateful that the nightmare that had plagued our new home seemed to have come to an end. The whispers ceased, the chilling drafts abated, and the once haunted atmosphere began to dissipate. In the weeks that followed, we cautiously settled into our new life in Atlanta. The house, once a source of terror, now felt like a place of warmth and comfort. We redecorated, filled the rooms with laughter, and gradually erased the lingering traces of the tragic past. Yet the memories of those harrowing nights lingered, a reminder of the thin veil between the living and the dead. Our experience in the haunted house left an indelible mark on our lives, forever changing our perception of the supernatural. We became more attuned to the subtle energies that surrounded us, always mindful of the thin line that separated the living from the departed. As we forged ahead, we carried the lessons of our ordeal with us, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of the unknown. The house on the quiet cul-de-sac in Atlanta became a distant memory, a chapter in our lives that we shared only with those who could comprehend the depths of our supernatural encounter. Our tale served as a cautionary reminder to those who sought the tranquility of a new home sometimes. The echoes of the past linger in the shadows, waiting to be acknowledged and laid to rest. The day we moved into our new house in Atlanta started like any other, filled with excitement, anticipation, and a touch of nervousness. The neighborhood, a charming enclave with tree-lined streets and friendly neighbors, seemed like the perfect setting for our growing family. Little did we know that the quaint facade hid a dark secret that would soon unravel in the most chilling way. My wife, Sarah, and I had just welcomed our first child, a beautiful baby girl named Lily. Eager to provide her with a loving home, we purchased a charming Victorian-style house that exuded both character and charm. The moment we stepped through the front door, however, an inexplicable chill ran down our spines. The house, with its creaking floorboards and vintage wallpaper, carried an air of antiquity that felt both enchanting and eerie. Sarah tried to dismiss my concerns, attributing the strange atmosphere to the age of the property. But as the days passed, peculiar events began to unfold, shaking the very foundation of our belief in the natural order of things. One evening, as Sarah and I settled into the living room to enjoy a quiet night, we heard the unmistakable sound of a child's laughter echoing through the halls. Our hearts skipped a beat, and we exchanged puzzled glances. Lily, just a few months old, lay sound asleep in her crib. The laughter continued, playful and carefree, as if an invisible child were dancing through the rooms. Unease settled over us like a heavy fog, but we convinced ourselves that the sound must have been a trick of the imagination. Perhaps it was the wind or the settling of an old house, we reasoned. Little did we know that this was only the beginning of a series of bizarre occurrences that would unfold in the coming weeks. One night, as we lay in bed, Sarah was startled awake by the sound of a lullaby drifting through the air. The haunting melody seemed to emanate from the nursery, where Lily slept peacefully. Sarah rushed to check on our daughter, fearing that an intruder might be in the house. To her surprise, the room was empty, and Lily remained undisturbed, cocooned in her blankets. As the days turned into weeks, the paranormal activity escalated. Objects moved of their own accord, sliding across tabletops or tumbling off shelves. Strange shadows danced on the walls, appearing and disappearing with no discernible source of light. Sarah and I began to feel a pervasive sense of being watched, an unsettling gaze that seemed to linger just beyond our line of sight. Desperate for answers, we delved into the history of the house. Our research uncovered a tragic tale from the late 1800s, a young family who had once called our home their own. The couple, deeply in love, had welcomed a daughter named Abigail. Tragedy struck when Abigail fell victim to a mysterious illness that claimed her life at the tender age of 6. The grief-stricken parents, unable to bear the memories that lingered within the walls, eventually moved away, leaving their beloved home behind. Haunted by the echoes of the past, we sought the guidance of a paranormal investigator named Dr. Samuel Bennett. A seasoned expert in the field, Dr. Bennett arrived at our doorstep armed with an array of specialized equipment. He explained that our house, steeped in history and tragedy, may be a focal point for lingering spirits. As Dr. Bennett conducted his investigation, the air in the house thickened with tension. His devices flickered and beeped, responding to unseen energies that pulsed through the rooms. We followed him from one room to another, watching with a mixture of trepidation and hope as he communicated with the spirits that seemed to inhabit our home. In the nursery, Dr. Bennett's equipment went haywire. He explained that the energy in the room was particularly strong, likely the residual presence of Abigail. As he attempted to make contact, a soft voice responded, singing the same lullaby that Sarah had heard in the dead of night. The investigator spoke gently, asking Abigail if she was at peace and if she needed help crossing over to the other side. The atmosphere in the room shifted, and a palpable sense of sadness filled the air. Dr. Bennett continued his dialogue, offering reassurance and empathy to the grieving spirit. Slowly, the energy dissipated, and the room felt lighter as if a weight had been lifted. The investigation concluded with Dr. Bennett's assurance that he had facilitated a connection between the living and the departed. He believed that Abigail, trapped in a liminal space between worlds, had found solace and moved on. Grateful for his assistance, Sarah and I felt a renewed sense of hope that our home could once again be a place of peace. In the weeks that followed, the oppressive atmosphere that had plagued our new house began to lift. The laughter and lullabies ceased, replaced by a newfound tranquility. We decorated the nursery with a sense of closure, honoring the memory of the little girl who had once called it her own. As we settled into our lives in Atlanta, our haunted house became a chapter in our family's history, a tale of sorrow, redemption, and the inexplicable bond that exists between the living and the dead. The memories of that eerie period lingered, serving as a reminder that the past, though buried, can resurface in unexpected ways. Our encounter with the supernatural left an indelible mark on our lives, shaping our understanding of the mysteries that exist beyond the veil of the tangible world. The day Jake and I moved into our new house in Atlanta, the sun was shining brightly, casting a warm glow over the tree-lined street. Our hearts were filled with the promise of a new life together as a married couple. Little did we know that the charming colonial-style house we had just purchased would become the setting for a chilling tale that would test the strength of our love and our sanity. The first time we laid eyes on the house, we were captivated by its classic charm: the white picket fence, the inviting front porch, and the sprawling backyard that seemed perfect for lazy Sunday afternoons. The real estate agent assured us that the previous owners had taken meticulous care of the property, and the neighborhood was known for its welcoming community. As we settled into our new home, the initial excitement gave way to an unsettling undercurrent. The house, though seemingly perfect, had an air of stillness that felt almost suffocating. The rooms were bathed in an eerie silence, broken only by the occasional creaks of the floorboards and the distant hum of traffic outside. The atmosphere was thick with unspoken tension. The first indication that something was amiss came one night as Jake and I were unpacking boxes in the living room. A soft whisper echoed through the air, barely audible but distinct enough to make us pause. We exchanged uneasy glances, wondering if it was just the settling of the old house, or if something more sinister was at play. Brushing off our unease, we continued our task, determined to make our new house a home. As the days passed, the whispers evolved into more tangible manifestations. Objects would mysteriously move from one room to another, and the temperature in certain areas of the house would inexplicably drop. We found ourselves waking up in the middle of the night to the sound of footsteps echoing in empty hallways, only to find no one there. The sense of being watched became a constant presence, lurking just beyond our field of vision. One evening, as Jake and I were enjoying a quiet dinner in the cozy kitchen, the lights flickered, casting eerie shadows on the walls. The room seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy, and a chill ran down our spines. We exchanged nervous glances, the unspoken question hanging in the air: were we truly alone in our new home? Determined to unravel the mystery, we delved into the history of the house. The neighbors, a friendly elderly couple who had lived in the neighborhood for decades, shared hushed stories of previous occupants who had abruptly left without explanation. Rumors of a tragic event that had taken place within the walls of our home sent shivers down our spines. Desperate for answers, we reached out to a local paranormal investigator named Olivia Martinez. Olivia, with her no-nonsense demeanor and a wealth of experience, arrived at our doorstep ready to uncover the truth. Armed with an array of specialized equipment, she conducted a thorough investigation, moving from room to room in search of supernatural energies. As Olivia explored the house, the tension in the air grew more palpable. Her equipment registered fluctuations in temperature and electromagnetic fields, and she communicated with the unseen entities that seemed to linger within the walls. The basement, with its dim lighting and heavy atmosphere, became a focal point of the investigation. In the basement, Olivia's attention was drawn to an old, boarded-up door. With cautious determination, she approached it, sensing a strong energy emanating from the other side. As she began to communicate with the spirits, the air in the room became charged with an unsettling force. The investigator asked questions, seeking to understand the nature of the entities that haunted our home. The answers came in the form of ghostly whispers and fleeting shadows. The spirits, it seemed, were trapped in a liminal space, unable to move on. Olivia deduced that a tragedy had occurred in the house, leaving behind lingering energies that sought resolution. As Olivia continued her communication, a sense of sorrow filled the room. The spirits, once restless and agitated, seemed to respond to her presence. Olivia spoke with empathy and reassurance, urging them to find peace and move on to the afterlife. The basement, once a dark and foreboding space, began to feel lighter, as if the weight of the past was slowly lifting. The investigation concluded with Olivia expressing confidence that the spirits had found resolution and crossed over to the other side. Grateful for her expertise, Jake and I embraced each other, relieved that our new home could finally be free from the supernatural forces that had tormented us. In the weeks that followed, the atmosphere in the house changed. The oppressive stillness gave way to a newfound warmth, and the unsettling whispers were replaced by the sounds of our laughter and joy. We redecorated, transforming the house into a reflection of our love and resilience. As we settled into our lives as a newly married couple in Atlanta, we couldn't help but reflect on the harrowing journey we had endured. Our haunted house, once a source of fear and uncertainty, became a testament to the strength of our bond. The memories of that challenging time served as a reminder that love, when faced with the supernatural, has the power to conquer even the darkest of forces. Thank you for joining us on this eerie journey through our haunted home in Atlanta. The twists and turns of our experience have truly tested the boundaries of the supernatural, and we're grateful to have shared our story with you.